she's been on YouTube. Tell us about Bridge Clinic. Tell us what you guys have experienced. I hope you are unmuted. You are muted right now. Good. And, where do you, what has been your experience, with IVF? Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on. So yeah, I've been listening. I've been watching on the YouTube channel, and it's a fascinating topic. I think because it's one that's always bringing up questions. So I'm not a pastor, so I'm not going to try and speak on any scriptural edicts or anything like that. But the one thing that one of the pastors said that I fully agree with was that at the end of the day, despite what you do in IVF, it's only God that can give life. All right, so you can do everything you want to do and have all the best parameters and the best everything, but who's going to give life is really just God, and we happily let our patients know that. I think most clients will also agree with that. But at Bridge Clinic, we've been around for 24 years. We were established in 1999, so we're like the first fertility-focused IVF clinic in Nigeria. And we're in Lagos and in Abuja and in Port Harcourt, and we sort of thrive on. We sort of lay our foundations really on these 4 core values you can see in the background: honesty, innovation, ethics, and excellence. And ethics is a big part for us actually. We offer lots of different services, but a lot of it is we ensure that it's ethically sound before we go ahead. So things like surrogacy, for instance, which we do offer at the clinic, has to go through the ethics committee even before to get approval. Actually the research, and that the welfare of the unborn child is also being considered and felt to be important as well. So we don't just sort of do surrogacy because somebody doesn't want to carry a baby or whatever. It's got to be on medical grounds, and like I said, it's got to be ethically approved as well to ensure that everything's as it should be. But yes, we offer the whole gamut of services, IVF, obviously in vitro fertilization, ICSI, which is kind of like IVF, but a slightly more specialized method. We do third-party reproduction, so that includes donor eggs, donor sperm, surrogacy. That's what that covers. And then we also offer PGT. So this is very relevant for us in this part of the world. Pre-implantation genetic testing, because for instance, sickle cell is a big burden for us. And if you have a couple who haven't prior to marriage maybe found out about their genotype, or the love was so strong they wanted to get married anyway, whether they're both AS, which you do see sometimes, then obviously when it's time for them to try and have a baby, they have a 1 in 4 risk of that child being a fully sickle child, which is a big burden. So thankfully, technology is now around that can actually help you ensure that you actually have a sickle-free family, and that's what PGT can do. And that's something you do with IVF as well. So I think all these new technologies are they're kind of heaven sent, because it's allowing couples who maybe wouldn't have families prior to have families. So like with surrogacy, for instance, maybe for instance a woman, maybe she was pregnant, she had a lot of bleeding, had to have her womb removed to save her life. But she might still want to have another child. So she would then say that she can't have a child because she hasn't got a uterus. Is that fair, for instance? So surrogacy would then come in and be able to at least help that woman complete her family. And I think, like we mentioned earlier on, surrogacy is such a minefield. Even definitely in this country, there's no regulation, a lot of things in the ART industry in Nigeria. So it's a real minefield. So what we try and do, we don't get involved in actually finding you a surrogate. So we allow the parents to go and find their own surrogates through whatever means they want to and develop a relationship with them. But what we do thorough counseling for both the parents and the surrogates. There's a really clear vetting process. There's very strict criteria on who can even be a surrogate. We want to give you the best chance. And then everyone's signing legal documentation, memorandums of understanding, so that we don't get situations where the surrogate absconds with the baby at a later date or tries to claim, that the child is theirs, essentially. But yeah, so that's kind of the summary, I guess, of what we've been doing for 24 years at Bridge Clinic.
Okay. Okay, listeners, on YouTube, if you have, what is fostering? Can anybody help me here? Somebody says fostering is much easier. What is fostering? I don't know. Anybody can help us?
Fostering is just looking after a babe. So, for example, fostering is when you go to a foster home, like a child is born to a family, the child, either there's a problem in the home, and for the safety of the baby, they take the child away and place them in another family.
Okay,
And
so I thought
they're there till they're 18, I think, where they can legally now stand on their own.
Is that different from adoption?
So it's very different from adoption. Then the child is not legally yours. With adoption, the child is legally yours. So you're just looking after this child as a foster
on behalf
of the parents.
Okay, foster parent. All right. Now, okay, makes sense. Dr. Ajayi, very quickly, can you tell us a bit more about that AS stuff? Very quickly, please. I mean, in terms of, I don't know whether you want to talk about the cost implications. Is it complicated? Because as a pastor, I've had cause to, sympathize with parents who've lost a 16-year-old, 20-year-old, etc. And, also, I've had cause to say, listen, don't fall in love until genotype has been done. You know what I mean? So can you just tell us quickly a bit more about that?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
So,
very quickly.
Yeah. So, like I said, so PGT, pre-implantation genetic testing, is a way that you could actually ensure that, your baby does not have does not carry the sickle cell gene. It involves doing an IVF process because you need to generate embryos, which is a fertilized sperm and egg. And then that embryo, a tiny cell, essentially, from the embryo is selected, and that cell is tested to see whether it carries the sickle gene. And you can basically then just ensure that you're only going to use or transfer back to the mum the embryos that do not have the sickle gene. And therefore, you can actually just have a family that, is going to, have longevity and no challenges.
Okay, thank you.